welcome to the 2020 International Sports Affairs Training course. My name is Pei-Ling Shen. I, myself, just like many of you, were a trainee for ISET before. And the training course has made some impact to my life and some changes and growth. And I'm going to share with you briefly of my journey into international sports. I'm currently a school teacher in elementary school, and I have been a teacher since year 2001. You might wonder how a school teacher, not even a physical education teacher, made her way into the world of sports. Well, in year 2014, I joined the ISET, which got me involved in the world of sports in a broader sense. Well, how did my journey begin? Prior to my ISET experience, I've been MC or attaché for VIPs in some sports events such as Taipei International Dragon Boat Championships and Summer Deaf Olympics, to name a few. And those brief participation of sports event really intrigued me greatly, not only the energy of the event, but also the common joy shared by the crowd. But what really got me into the world of sports is that I was dispatched to Department of Sports, Taipei City Government, and it was called Sports Office at the time in year 2011 to assist in organizing Asian Masters Athletics. And later, I had the opportunity to participate in the late stage of bidding for 2017 Taipei Summer Universiade, and later being a part of the preparation for the event with the organizing committee when we obtained the successful bidding. And that was the time I committed fully in sports event. And I realized that I was so eager and hungry for more about sports, international sports events, and hoping that I might better serve the athletes participated in the event if I know more. And that's when I found out about ISET and being a part of ISET family ever since. I finished my training in year 2014, and I did my local and international internship in year 2015. Since then, I have worked with individual sports such as judo, wushu, swimming, and karate, and also worked with team sports such as softball over the years. Though there are delicate differences between team sports and individual sports that you need to tend to, however, the general principles and our duties remain the same. In the sports events I assisted in, I have brought teams out for competitions as well as participated in meetings such as general assemblies and bidding presentation for events. And for this session, I'm going to share with you some of the roles we play as we do our jobs, and also a few tips on attending meetings. And what are the jobs when we participate in international sports events? The first came to mind for many is being a translator. However, being a good translator is more than a language agent that changes from one language to another. If that's the case, anyone with a cell phone with translation app would fulfill that job. What makes a difference is that we are living organisms, that we can sense the hidden meaning between the lines and behind the lines. And we comprehend the whole culture with the culture in mind, and we take the whole message in with what's being said and unsaid, including the tone, the body language, and facial expression. All convey meanings and attitudes which we need to pay attention to. However, our job is not limited to being a translator. What are the things you imagine that we'll be doing as we take part in international sports events? Before we go on any further of the roles we play, we need to find out who are the people we work with and what their needs are and our responsibilities to them. First and foremost, we work with athletes and coaches. They need to be well informed on all information related to their competitions. Before the departure, make sure their registration information is correct and confirmed. Their visas and all needed documents are ready, whether it's travel documents or documents needed for competition. Make sure you or the coaches you travel with keep a copy of those documents. Once you arrived, tending for the basic needs such as food and lodging, so that they are in good condition to compete, and also take part in head of delegation meeting or technical meeting, or some might call that manager meeting or drawing if needed. Not only we need to take care of the athletes and coaches, we also work with sport federations and Chinese Taipei Olympic Committee. So make sure you keep a clear communication channel with them to obtain information or contacts and make them well informed as well. We also work with the local and international administrative organizations, such as local organizing committee and International Sports Association. Find out more about them on the internet or through local sports association and Chinese Taipei Olympic Committee prior to your departure. Once we get there, that's the time we start building connections with them. Another very important administrative organization that we need to work with is the local embassies or offices that represent our government. They are the ones rooted in the local and knows the culture and language much better than we do, which can be a very good support and backbone for us. I'll give you an example on protocol. Sometimes we inform the local organizing committee about the proper protocols, but however, not all of them aware of the protocol or follow the protocol correctly. If that happens, communicate with them again and also be understanding of their situation, because sometimes they are so busy doing all the organizing work, they don't even have time to fix anything. For example, our competition in Ulaanbaatar, the boxing game, they didn't put up Chinese Taipei flag over the field. So I went in and communicated with them and they apologized. But the next day it didn't happen. And I came in again and they apologized again. And then I noticed maybe they're short-staffed. They just don't have someone to actually go up there and put it out. So I asked their permission. Would it be okay if I bring my own flag and put it up there? And they gave me that permission, and that's what I did, and then it happens. So a lot of times it's not that they don't want to cooperate. A lot of times it's that they are not fully aware, or they just short-staffed, or they just don't have the time and energy to deal with the problems we have, because they are so busy organizing thousands and thousands of things at the same time. So for times of this, just be understandable and trying to tell them what we need to see happening. And if there's anything we can do to help them to make that happen, we can also be a part to make that happen. For registration, checking registration, when you arrive locally, make sure when you do the registration, check all the information about competition registration, if that's all correct, and make sure you use their athlete's passport to check the data and make sure they are registered with the right category of competition. And after, make sure that part, and we'll move on to the next part, which is you'll pay for the fees. A lot of times nowadays they use wire transfer, but sometimes for some organizing committees they would prefer cash payment. So that's the time you need to bring in cash and to pay the registration fees and accommodation fees and meals and stuff. After that, then they will be able to get the accreditation for the competition, and make sure remind your athletes accreditation is a very, very important document they need to carry on at all times, because without it, you cannot go in the competition venue, you cannot go in the cafeteria or the restaurants that's designated for the competition. That's the thing they identify you with, because that happens in one of the events that we went to. One athlete lost the accreditation card just while after his practice, he was changing and he lost his accreditation card. And at the time, what we did was immediately went to the office and see if we can have them reissue a temporary one, and usually that will be able to happen. And sometimes you also need to contact local Chinese Taipei sports association, because a lot of times the original registration is going through them, so they would like to have the original contact to contact them and to tell them about the situation. Otherwise, they would not just take in for anybody's requests or suggestions. So just find out what needs to be done and try to get the problems solved one at a time. Once we get to know the people and agencies we need to work with and have their needs and the responsibilities to them in mind, we can look at the other roles we play. As mentioned earlier, of being a good translator, we need to take in the whole message in with the culture, tones, meaning, and make clear and precise communication for athletes and coaches, and also sports associations you work with. It is a two-way communication. Sometimes English is even not the first language locally for the local organizing committee. It could involve other parties in the communication process. So, communicate, check, double check, and sometimes even check with multiple resources to make sure your information is up to date. And we are also the representative for Team Chinese Taipei. We are how people see Chinese Taipei. I need to remind myself constantly to leave a pleasant, calm, reasonable, and logical, and kind impression for others. We need to check the protocols to make sure that we were treated fair and equally, and things are right for us. And if there are times we need to communicate with them on protocols or any other matters, keep in mind to keep things factual, which states the facts and positions we hold, and express clear expectations. What do we need to see happening? And the goal is to seek mutual benefits. And of course, while we are out there, we are the eyes and ears for Team Chinese Taipei. We are naturally their assistants for almost anything they need. Not only the basic needs such as the food and lodging, but also the specific needs for certain different sports. You can find them out by talking to the coaches and asking the team themselves. And sometimes we might need to inform or educate the team of local cultures so that we don't offend others. And sometimes we might need to take on other trainees as interns. And I myself always find something new and learn something new in each and every job we do. So mentor and learner, that's also the role we play. Well, what I just said made our job sound really easy, right? Being a translator, being a representative, being an assistant, mentor, and learner. You probably think you can do all that. Well, if all the arrangements is under good condition, that is true. And of course, we wish all conditions arranged well, but not necessarily, because a lot of times we work with different countries, different cities, different people have different work culture. They might arrange things differently than we thought. So what makes our job exciting and challenging is all the little things we encounter during the jobs. Well, I would like to share a few experiences with you. For example, the softball game we had in Canada. Well, thinking about Canada, you might think, well, in Canada, nothing could go wrong. They speak English. We know a lot about Western culture. However, there was one time that our team was getting ready to get on the shuttle bus, but we waited and waited and waited. The shuttle bus didn't come, and we didn't know what was going on. And at the time, I had already made a plan. If the bus or shuttle bus didn't come in 20 minutes, I'm going to call a rental service to fetch our team members to the ballpark. But just in time, before 20 minutes arrived, our attaché already arranged another bus to come and fetch us. Well, of course, this incident has successfully resolved, but afterwards, I went to their office to tell them I wasn't mad. I was just communicating with them that our team is very serious about coming in here for competition. We didn't intend and we don't want to miss any games. We are very sorry for what happened that morning, that we almost had a chance to be affected and not being able to participate in the competition. And they heard that and they apologized to us. And right next day, the sports manager came almost with us every competition we had to make sure our transportation was okay, our training field is okay, everything for Team Chinese Taipei is okay. And he even brought a bouquet of flowers for our team members. And as you can see on the picture, we had a really good vibe and groove with the sports manager. What I'm trying to say is a lot of things could happen, and we just need to, first of all, the priority is get the problem solved, and then try to seek ways to avoid future problems. That's why, even though the problem was successfully resolved, I still went into the office to talk to them because I don't want anything like that happen again. And that helped us to make sure that our following days we had successfully obtained training fields and transportation. And another experience was that for basic needs, well, it seems like getting the food, getting the hotel is not a problem because a lot of times you had that arranged before you leave the country. But however, that was a game we had in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia. That was a boxing competition. The city was Ulaanbaatar, but actually they put us in a very special retreat, which is high up in the mountain, almost an hour and a half and 2 hours away from the city of Ulaanbaatar, which made it very inconvenient to get anything around there. And as you can see on the picture here, these are the food they provided for us. And imagine the intensity of boxing, the sport of boxing, and imagine our athletes eating this for intense sports like boxing. So I feel very bad for the athletes. So we made our voice, communicate with the local organizing committee in the meetings, and of course many other delegations also made the same requests and telling them that the food was not good enough, the lodging is not good enough. As you can see, in the rooms, there's no shower, so the athletes and coaches and us need to pack our things and go like hike for 10 minutes in order to get to a place for shower. But what's been done has been done. We were all lodged in the same, they call that athletes village. So not much could be done. And I called up to the local embassy and told them what's going on and told them that we are really in a condition that we need help with food and we don't even have hot water. So the next day they brought us some eggs and bananas, fruits, so the athletes get some nutrition and nutritious food. And also on the same day, I request with the local organizing committee, so they fetch a bus to take us, some of the delegation members, down to Ulaanbaatar, which is 2 hours away. And that's the time I get this water boiler, and which comes in handy because that helps us get hot water and also help us to boil the eggs that we got from the embassy's office and help us through that game. And sometimes the local food might be delicious, but sometimes the local food might not be very suitable for athletes. So that's the time you need to use all resources to think how you can help them to get the right kind of food or the right kind of things they need. And assistant, for the part of being an assistant, not only fulfilling their basic needs and specific needs, there are also times they need to participate in different programs or different activities. For example, this is Wushu championship in Russia. Our athlete got a very good performance. So he was being interviewed right on the spot. So we need to keep our eyes on where our athletes are and what their needs are at all times. And that's the time we need to keep our hawk eyes on and all our antennas on to be aware of all the athletes and coaches' needs in order to help them fulfill all their needs. Now we're gonna change gears to talk a little bit about meeting. And when we assist in meetings, we need to find out what's involved in the meetings. Two very most common ones is general assemblies and bidding for event presentation or sometimes voting for certain positions. And I'm going to talk about meetings, about before, during, and after the meetings. Before part, it is a part that takes most in preparation. Before we go, make sure you find out time, place, and who to contact with, and what needs to be done. And if you're making a presentation, make sure you familiarize yourself with the content of the presentation. And upon arrival, once you get there, you don't have much time to prepare. You started to make connections immediately. But usually, relationships take time to grow. So if you don't know many people there, one tip I use is that I will stay in the lobby or have a long lunch or long dinner at the official hotel, because that's where you might meet the key people. Of course, while you do that, try to be pleasant and be polite. Try to notice if they are in for more conversation or they are seeking for personal time and privacy. And if you are making a presentation in any of the meetings, make sure you check the venue of the presentation and equipment a day before your presentation so that you have time to fix any problems you might have ahead of time without any hassle. For some events, they might need to translate your presentation into other languages. They might ask you for the file or script 2 days or a day before. So please make sure you arrive please make sure you arrive at the site early on the day of the presentation. Not only to get yourself ready, it is also a time for all delegation representatives to gather together. So it is a perfect opportunity to be seen and to make connections. And during the presentation, please keep a calm and clear demeanor. If anything happens, whether technically or anything unplanned, remember to face it with a little humor. And afterwards, regardless of the results, it's also a good opportunity to social with other officials after the meeting. Give out invitations or give blessings will be something everyone enjoy. What I have learned is to keep a positive mindset. We'll see every opportunity as a growing opportunity. Sometimes when we attend general assemblies, we need to read the translator, and other times there are votings involved in general assemblies. So we need to know what the votings will be and which decision will affect our team. So we need to be clear on that and translate well to the coaches and representatives from sports association to make sure they understand which decision means what consequences, and make sure they are well informed so they can tell you which decision they would like to make. And a lot of times it's been done electronically, so there's just a single device that you can click on and then you can send in your decision. And other times for meetings, some of the events already incorporate with technology. So a lot of sports events, there are applications on the cell phone that you can download, which you can get the instant information upon venues, locations, shuttle bus, and everything. So as you arrive there, or maybe even prior to your departure, you might have that information. So make sure you have Wi-Fi so you can download that app and get the most instant and updated information. And these two pictures are coming from a judo event. One is for voting. Our member of committee is voting for a position in Asian Judo Federation. And for that part, not only we need to help them to do the translation, but also we need to help them with all the work behind it. For instance, once we get there, we'll help them to lobby, to communicate with other committee members, and also get yourself resourceful. Even ask the lobby people at the hotel or the local people of the nearby restaurants, hotels, because sometimes if they need to have dinner parties or events that they would like to host, gatherings or meetings, then you are fully aware what are the resources that you'll be able to get. And of course, times at the meeting is the best time for sports association to mingle and to meet people from different countries' sports association. They are in the same field. They connect. Their connection is very crucial and important because it helps them develop relationships, and it also helps them in future. Either it's their support in voting or bidding in events. So it's very important for us to help them to make the connections to build that positive image of Team Chinese Taipei. Well, I just shared with you our jobs, the roles we play, and now I would like to share with you an unforgettable experience I had. It was karate championship in Chile, San Diego last year. And before our departure for the competition, there were protests locally, and we've been very keen on knowing what's going on, so we had a very close contact with the local embassy to make sure what the situation is every day and make sure it is safe to go. And we also check very closely with the local organizer. We had letter communication several times and to make sure that the competition proceeds without any delay. So we made the decision that we will go. However, it takes a day and a half, almost 2 days for us to get to Chile from Taiwan. And as we get on our plane, a lot of things has changed. The intensity and the violence of the protests turns into riots. So the situation in San Diego just escalated drastically. So situation got worsened as we arrived, which on the day we arrived, the local government announced emergency state and they started a curfew. And of course, we were on the plane. We didn't know what was going on. The only thing we saw was when the plane landed, we saw smokes. And then we were like, what was going on over there? There were dark smokes in a nearby distance. As we stepped out of the plane, and we were welcomed by an official from local embassy, and we're really fortunate because we are the only delegation to have a local embassy, to have someone with us. He makes sure we were there safely and we get out of the airport safely. And as you can see from the picture, due to that emergency state announcement and the curfew, a lot of shops and stores are closed for business. And another thing is that we are not sure when did the curfew started because it changes every day. I try to ask the shopkeepers, try to ask the hotel lobby people, but their answers remains the same. Well, every day is different. They wait for announcements and they watch TV for that. And well, that's another difficulties I encountered because I may know English, but I don't know Spanish. But thanks to the local embassy, they kept us well informed of the curfew hours. Every day it's announced. And as mentioned earlier, since all the shops were closed, it's going to be a big trouble for us getting even the basic needs fulfilled because we cannot get food. Even with a lot of money in our pockets, we cannot get food. And for this picture, you see some of the riots got very violent. They burned down buses, they burned out supermarkets, so it became unsafe to go on streets. So we kept all the athletes inside the hotel, and also we kept our embassy office well informed of our whereabouts every day. If we need to go, if I need to go for meetings or if we need to go to see the venues, we'll keep them well informed of our whereabouts. And as you can see at the top picture, everywhere you go, you suddenly will see crowds, sometimes cheerful crowds, singing and dancing with music, sometimes angry crowds, shouting, angry bands, and a lot of times you also sense the tear gas in the air. So as it escalated worse, you thought you might be able to get some help from the local organizing committee. However, it's not true because they have too many things in their hands. They can't even offer any kind of help. They even said if they dispatch shuttle bus, it might be a target for the riot people. So even the transportation became a problem. And thanks to the local embassy office, they send a call for us every day to make sure our athletes get to the competition site safely. Other than this, I mentioned earlier about the food. We had trouble getting the food, and thanks to Office of Embassy, they expressed our difficulties to local Taiwanese people. So they not only received us warmly on the day we arrived, but they also try to arrange food for us every day. And also this is the wife of the ambassador. She made bread for us and brought it in for us herself. This is the time that you feel like the local support, the local people from home is your best support, and you feel so warm because they don't know you, but they care for you just because we all are from Taiwan. And not only our basic needs was jeopardized, we might also jeopardize our competition as well. You might say, well, the organizing committee says the game proceeds. How could that jeopardize it? Well, due to that emergency state and curfew, almost everything in Chile, San Diego, has been put on hold. So the airport workers, they get off early every day, and their work schedule is not following the proper procedure. So our luggage didn't even arrive until 4 days we got there. And it was a chaos there. Anybody you go, you ask, cannot give you an answer. And I asked the local people to help me, and every time they heard about LATAM Airlines, they would say, there's no way you'll be able to get hold of them. But really, thanks to the embassy again, they took us on the trip to the airport, and that's the time we searched through all the luggages in the airport. And then we successfully located our luggages and sent it to the hotel, and see how happy all the athletes and coaches are, because all their gears for competition are in the luggages, and also medical equipment as well. And on this picture, you can see a lot of people. They are staying at the airport because they cannot find their luggages. And really, thanks to local embassy representative to help us to obtain our luggages. So we started with nothing to help us to practice or warm up, to have proper gears on, to have real training prior to the games. And what I'm trying to say is, for any events we attend to, for anything we accomplish, it's not just you or me. One person single-handedly will be able to accomplish it. It really takes a whole village. It takes the athletes and coaches to work with you. It takes your close work with Chinese Taipei Olympic Committee, and also the Sports Association, and also the relationship you build up with the local organizing committee and international sports federations. And it's all that connect together to make things happen. So when there's a will, there is a way. Well, over the years, working with athletes in sports association and participating in different kinds of sports events internationally and locally, I do have a few experience and suggestions for you, and I constantly need to remind myself of those as well. First of all is continue to learn and grow. As mentioned earlier, we are not just a translator. We need to take in the whole thing of the language, including the culture, including the tones, expressions, and body language, and the hidden meaning of everything. So it is an immense amount of information that we need to take in. There's no way we'll be able to click of fingers and be able to be good at it instantly. So it is a continuation process that we need to continue to learn and grow, not only language-wise, but also in every aspect of lives. As a few examples I just shared with you, sometimes it takes your experience to help you resolve problems. So I would recommend you and suggest you to be adventurous, to continue to grow and to learn along the way. And it's a continuous process. It's still happening for me, and I'm still learning something new every day. And the second suggestion I would like to offer you, also remind myself, is to keep an open mind. As our experience grow, you might not be able to find something exciting or interesting anymore, but and a lot of times things could fall into routine or stereotype. However, working with international groups, we need to keep an open mind. A lot of times what you think might not be what they think, and the way they do things might not be the way you're used to. So we just need to take in what the situation is and think about what other ways we can communicate with them to help them understand our thinking and also understand what we expect, and also sometimes we need to change our expectations as well and help the team to cope with what's being offered to us. The third suggestion I would like to offer is to try to move yourself out of the comfort zone. Just similar to the first suggestion, sometimes being adventurous, we get too easily familiarized with the things we do, the way things are. However, if you want to work with different people, you want to work internationally, we do need to move ourselves out of our comfort zone sometimes and get used to that feeling of not being in your comfort zone, because that could be something you deal with every time you're out on a job. And lastly, and I think it's the most important thing, is please take good care of yourself, both body and mind. Well, what I didn't mention earlier is while we were on the job, the hours are long. For some sports, for example, some sports need to have weigh-in. They are categorized by weights, so they need to come in on the day of competition and have weigh-in several hours before the competition. So you might need to leave the hotel very early in the morning, 5 or 6 o'clock, and travel a few, probably an hour or half an hour to the venue. And then the whole day competition starts. And by the time you get back to the hotel or to the village, it's already late at night. So the hours are long and the miles are wide, because a lot of times sports venues are huge. You need to walk a lot. So my suggestion is keep a healthy lifestyle. Make yourself healthy to have a healthy body, so that you'll be able to have the energy and ability to cope with it. And also keep a healthy mind. In that way, you'll be able to sustain pressure under a very short period of time, and also be able to keep yourself calm when a lot of things coming in at the same time. So that will be my 4 suggestions for you. And before closing, I would like to close with a quote of an NFL wide receiver, Anthony Brown. He said, "The journey is never ending. There's always going to be growth, improvement, adversity. You just got to take it all in and do what's right. Continue to grow, continue to live in the moment. Well, there are hassle-tussles and a lot of pressure come with the job, but it is certainly a privilege and pleasure sharing the honor and every moment with Team Chinese Taipei. So I would like to invite you to pack up and get on board, get on the journey with me. We'll enjoy the journey together. Thank you.